Hello. So today I want to talk about relationships and the abandonment wound because that's my theme over the current 2-week period for my content is relationships and the abandonment wound, which are very closely linked. And starting off, I'm going to say generally in life there are 3 types of people. There are the people that will go through life and be in and out of relationships, do good, bad things, and they will never have any awareness. And if it even is brought to their attention, they just won't change, will never change. Then you have the people who have the awareness that something needs to change, but either they don't know how to, or they're not ready to let go of a version of themselves or people, places, things in order to do so. And then you have the people who are the change makers. And these are the people who are self-aware, who can reflect, who can weigh up how they showed up, how the other person showed up. They can take that and they can learn and they can move on. And they act with intention. They can problem solve, they can communicate, they can work through conflict. With regards to self-worth in relationships, so your self-worth is your internal sense of self, how you view yourself, how you feel about yourself, and what your underlying conditioning is around how much you love yourself, how much you value yourself. And generally in relationships, your self-worth will show up by the amount that you tend to give your power away. And that may be that you are an overgiver. That may be that you are a chaser. That may be that you're always the one to initiate and you're always trying to people please. That could show up by playing small, not speaking up, not speaking your truth. But there is one certain thing, and that is that the only person that you can control is yourself. And that's just guaranteed. Anything else outside of you, you cannot control. So I'm just going to give you the definition for the abandonment wound, and it is a deep-seated emotional trauma stemming from experiences of feeling left behind, rejected or unloved, often during childhood, that can significantly impact relationships and mental well-being. And this can really drive your attachment style, which is how you show up in relationships. And they generally are, to keep this simple, you have got your secure attachment, you have got your anxious attachment, and your anxious avoidant attachment as well. The avoidant is broken down into 2 types, and that's your dismissive avoidant and your fearful avoidant. If you Google attachment styles, you can read for days, you can do a quiz, you can find out what your dominant attachment is. So with regards to me personally, I had a very large abandonment wound that showed up as physical abandonment and emotional abandonment. And that was really, I don't go into my childhood a lot because, I've dealt with it and I've closed the door on that now. But essentially that came from, one parent left. I was always left waiting. There was a lot of uncertainty. There was a lot of unpredictability. I was either made to feel too much or feel too little. So, essentially I learned to self-soothe and turn inward, but in that unpredictability and why will a parent not show up for me? What is it about me? I developed those traits of perfectionism and never feeling good enough and always feeling anxious or unworthy. So, my nervous system, that was, when you're between the ages of 0 to 7 as a child, you're like a sponge. So you just absorb absolutely everything. So that's, this was not something that I was consciously aware of. This was, ingrained in my subconscious. So when I went into adult life and I was sprung into adult life, I left home quite young. To my nervous system, waiting, uncertainty and unpredictability, that was familiar to me. So for people to treat me like that, that was that was normal for me. There was nothing abnormal that ever, rose to my mind. I went through cycles and cycles and cycles of this until I was about 29, 30 before I really started to be like, right, something's not right here. When I'm making my content about relationships, I joke and I try to keep it as lighthearted as possible because I'm not a doom and gloom person. But, I had a very sort of, in my early 20s, late teens, early 20s, looking back now, I can see that I had a very anxious, avoidant attachment style. So like, I would like want someone, and then I would get them, and then it would feel too much, and then I would be like literally putting on my trainers and running 50 miles in the opposite direction. And then again, like I just went through my 20s like this, and nice people, like I couldn't get this. I like nice people just made me uncomfortable. Like somebody wanting to treat me well, like oh my god. But that was my nervous system. That was my subconscious conditioning. And then as I got into my later 20s, then it was more anxious, and it's probably getting my karma back. But I just that chasing energy, like why are you not choosing me? Why do you not want me? Why am I not good enough? Everyone always leaves me. And that's when I started to realize, okay, like my thoughts and beliefs are not aligned here with actually like what I want in life and my goals. Like I'm not going to be able to hold the energy of something stable unless I change how I'm behaving. A common question in my DMs is about ghosting, and like for anyone who has, an altered attachment style, ghosting is going to ruin them. You see that silent treatment, especially if you have a low sense of self, your life's just going to be overtaken by not being chosen, not being wanted. And it's very distressing. Like I've been there and lived it many, many times. And, that's your inner child, coming up and shaking the cage and saying, I need help. Like I need help. I need to feel safe. What I say to women is, and if I was saying this to men, it would be the exact same thing. If somebody wants you, you will know. If it's hard and you have to run and chase and beg and plead, that's not something. If you want that type of thing, but in the long term, that's not going to make you happy. And it's showing that your power, you're just being like, there you go, take it away. I don't matter. I'm just going to chase after somebody here who doesn't want me. And yeah, you'll get maybe a little text back, and then you'll feel a little bit better for a while, and then they'll pull away again, and the cycle will continue. So what you have to do is you have to take the plaster off the abandonment wound, and you have to go back through your life and generally look at where were you abandoned, why am I exhibiting these behaviours, and you have to turn inward. You have to, all the energy that you're wondering why other people don't want you and other people don't like you and why nobody chooses you, you're wasting your time, I can tell you that now. You have to take that energy and you have to turn that back inward, and you have to focus on what you want, on who you are, on what your goals are, what your dreams are. And you have to start being what you want to attract into your life. If you want somebody who is consistent, you have to be consistent to yourself. If you want somebody who is a good communicator, you have to be open and transparent and be honest with yourself. So if you want somebody whose actions match words, well then you have to do that with yourself and make sure that your actions and words are aligning. Generally, it's very easy to make excuses for people. Oh, they're having a hard time, or they've lost their job, or they've had a bereavement, or whatever it may be. And the bottom line is, it shouldn't matter, because life is hard. You could meet somebody today and everything be perfect, and tomorrow one of you get run over by a bus, or you lose your job and you lose your house, or anything could happen. Like life is hard, and you want to attract in someone who you can hustle through life with, who is going to be by your side, who is going to be there through the good and the bad times, and who doesn't run away when the shit hits the fan. So these are just some things to think about, and that's why your internal sense of self has to be so strong. I will always have an abandonment wound to some degree, and it will regularly show up in my life, and it's my job to make sure that I can, self-soothe myself during those moments where I'm being triggered, and reassure myself that, okay, I'm safe. I'm okay here. I love me. I can show up for me. I choose me. I make good decisions for me, and that's good. The key is also being so strong in who you are, loving yourself so much, being able to fill your own cup, have your own hobbies, bring your own joy to your life. That when somebody comes into your life, they add to it. They're not there to complete you in any way, shape or form. So yes, be what you want to attract, and release and let go of everything that is not that. Let go of what is not serving you right now, and if it comes back, great, and it shows up as how you want it to, fine. And if it doesn't, well then you just let it go and you turn it inwards and you focus on yourself.